Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you blessed us with. And Father, we thank you for beautiful weather that you sent our way. We thank you for this time set aside for conducting the business of the county, and thank you for our leaders as they give it their time to serve their fellow citizens. Pray, Father, that you'll be with them tonight and they'll seek your guidance to make the best decisions for the county. And Father, as we continue on through this day, just pray that you'll continue to be with us, give us good health. Father, we ask that you forgive us of our sins, for it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
We call this meeting to order. First on the agenda is departmental reports. The only one in the packet was the animal control names. This was brought in later from transfer stations. That's supposed to be departmental reports. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Next on the agenda is constitutional officers, treasurer's report, packet. Any questions or concerns? Next on the agenda is public expression. Does anybody have anything they'd like to
Yes, sir,
say?
I do.
Please
May I?
have the microphone, yes. State your name and how you best to hold the 3 minutes. if possible.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is José Echeverria. I'm a physician working in this beautiful area for 20 years. And I own and lease Pennington Gap ARH Clinic. I work in Pennington Gap doing primary care, and I work in Hartley. I'm the medical director with ARH. I come now representing ARH. Personally and professionally, I try to provide to my family food, shelter, and medical services. I provide food and shelter, and I cannot provide medical services for the circumstances that we all know. I present a proposal to open a hospital, and the acceptance was done to ballot. Wonderful news. Whoever begins to provide medical services will have my support. I'm here not to criticize nobody, but I'm here to offer a plan B. I spoke to Mr. Joe Grossman. He is the president and CEO of ARH. We lease and run 13 hospitals in the area. We have 58 clinics. We have a payroll of $6 million. We employ 1,500 physicians. We know what we're doing. And I'm here to offer the county the participation of ARH running the hospital if the situation with ballot don't work. That's what I'm here for. I believe that time is of the essence, especially in the healthcare business. People is dying, literally dying. In the last time that we were in the theater in the Pennington Middle School, Dr. Litton also came to tears, remembering what happened to his patients because of the lack of medical services. Dr. Jill Couch is outraged because they don't give her a timeline to begin the working operation of the hospital. And we know they need some time. We know that, I'm aware, people cannot do things in 2 days, but we need to have a timeline. We need to know if they want to do it, if they can do it. And I'm offering to you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, a plan B. We know what we are doing. We are committed to doing. I have the offer, the formal offer from ARH that we are available to provide the services here. We are a non-for-profit organization, and that's our attitude. That's what we want. We want to help the county. I'm not going to criticize ballot. I'm not going to mention anybody else. We understand that they need some time, but how long? They signed the contract on January 28th. What did they do? I mean, let us know. We understand up to a point. Okay, that's all I have to say, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Please state your name, try to keep it 3 minutes if possible.
My name is Debi Artrip, and I'm from Keokee. At the April Board of Supervisors meeting, the Lee County School Superintendent requested level funding for next year's budget, which is an increase of $78,000 of the required local effort plus a lump sum appropriation instead of quarterly appropriations. Student enrollment is continuing to drop, which should require less local funding from the county. The Board of Supervisors have made it very clear that no additional funds are available to give to the schools or to anybody else as far as that goes. The Lee County citizens cannot afford to pay more taxes. We can't afford higher taxes. According to the demographics from Weldon and Cooper, our county already pays higher taxes than 39 other localities in Virginia, including all of Southwest Virginia. Plus, we're at a 60% poverty rate. The demographics also prove that 27% of our people that are presently employed are also at the poverty rate. According to the last audit prepared by Robinson, Farmer, and Cox, it's my opinion that the Lee County School Board has several areas of concern that should be addressed before the county gives them more money that they're not entitled to. Thank you.
Anybody else like to get to speak? Close public expression at this time. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes.
Motion to approve minutes from April 16th regular meeting and April 30th recess meeting. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda is approval of refunds for Joel P. Miller. Taxpayer with double tax for this manufactured home, personal property, and real estate. The real estate ticket was paid through escrow, and personal property ticket was paid by the taxpayer. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda, payroll. County Administrator reports payroll warrants have been issued. Next is approval of disbursements. I have any questions or concerns?
Motion to pay the bills.
Motion been made, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda is finance, supplemental appropriations. Anything you need to add to any of these, Mr.
I
Powell?
think to approve us self-explanatory, we typically have similar ones throughout the year, so. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
I'd like to make a motion.
Got a motion? Second.
Is that to adopt all 7?
Right.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? District Pacific. District 3.
Make a motion to reappoint Chad Hines, IDA board.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is Emergency Management Coordinator.
I motion that we keep, Alan Bailey as the emergency management coordinator.
I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda is resolution extending the term of the Dryden Water Authority charter.
Mr. Chairman, recently brought to my attention that water authorities created by the county in the period generally from the mid-1960s to the early 1970s will require an extension of the charter term in order to continue providing service to their customers. State code states that these authorities exist for a term of 50 years as a corporation and for such further period or periods as may from time to time be provided by appropriate resolutions of the political subdivisions which are members of the authority. However, the term on an authority shall not be extended beyond a date 50 years from the date of adoption of such resolutions. Dryden Water, per State Corporation Commission records, was formed or registered on August 4th, 1967, which means their initial 50-year charter expired on August 3rd, 2017. While that's nearly 2 years out, or been nearly 2 years, there's a code section that states an authority shall continue in existence and shall not be dissolved because the term for which it was created, including any extensions thereof, has expired unless all of such authority's functions have been taken over and its obligations have been paid or have been assumed by one or more political subdivisions or by an authority created thereby. So since the authority's functions and obligations have not been taken over by another entity, they still legally continue to exist. But at this point, for them to continue forward, they've got, I think, some bond financing coming up, some things like that. That's what triggered this when they determined that their legal term had expired. It would be appropriate at this time for the board to adopt a resolution extending their charter. I presented a draft resolution there to extend it, and you'll notice I did leave a blank on the period of years. I don't know if you want to just do it as another 50-year period of time, or if you would rather do it in some other increment. I would, and I included this in your memo as well, to bring to your attention that 2 other water authorities created in that same time period. The Lee County Water Authority, which was in the far western end of the county, and the St. Charles Water and Sewer Authority have both since merged into the Lee County PSA. The Lee Water Authority was in the late 90s, and St. Charles was just last year. So, but both of those have merged into the PSA. Also, besides Dryden, Woodways is coming up next year. There's no action needed immediately now, but I would recommend that it be acted on either this fall or in the spring, early in the spring, to take care of theirs. They are actually good through May 10th of 2020, and I believe that will be the last one. There's no other water authorities in the county currently operating other than the PSA, Woodway Water, and Dryden Water. Another thing to consider, and this is dealing with whether or not you want to extend the charter for a 50-year period or not. I'm not aware of any current discussions or ongoing negotiations or anything for either of these 2 existing authorities to merge with the PSA, but I think it's a reasonable expectation that at some point in the future, both of them probably will merge into one countywide system. Other than the incorporated towns, the municipalities will always retain theirs, most likely. But any period of time, appropriate up to the 50 years. would be suitable. You just tell me how you want me to finish the resolution, and it can be adopted in that fashion.
We really wouldn't matter with it, because the board would be the one that would decide that if they wanted to merge with the PSA or whatever, so.
Yes, their boards would have to decide. There was a lingering issue about St. Charles when they merged, because I had asked the bond counsel to go ahead and prepare the correct documentation to terminate their charter, and I never did get that information. But with this information, that's not needed at this point, because their charter technically had already expired, probably about a year or two before. So when they merged in there, someone else now has taken their assets and liabilities, so it automatically expires with that 50-year term. But yes, they will still have to make that vote regardless of what length of time you place on them.
So the years really wouldn't matter, would it?
Not necessarily.
50 years is a long time.
It is.
That's probably many people in the room if anybody left. You got shot today, didn't you?
About 5 years.
Well, there again, you're gonna have to do it every 5 years if you're gonna do that. I mean, like I say, the years don't really matter if you think about it, because that board is gonna be the one to make that decision on whether they merge with another. But that's fine, that's what y'all want to do. Whatever you want to do.
I think 50 is way too long. 20? Does that sound suitable?
So I throw one out there.
Did 20?
Motion.
Well, I guess we'll have to add it and adopt the resolution.
Yes, if you just, or if you.
I'll make it all in one motion. Adopt the resolution with a 20-year extension. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opportunity Zone Planning and Strategy Development Planning Grant.
The county recently submitted an application to the Department of Housing and Community Development for a planning grant for funding to plan and develop a marketing strategy for the county's opportunity zone. As you know, the federal government designated opportunity zones throughout the nation. DHCD has responded to our application with a preliminary approval for $3,000 to complete 5 tasks, which will then be evaluated for further consideration of whether or not they provide or grant the full planning grant in the amount of $15,000. 3 of the required tasks are to conduct a public meeting for citizens, basically to provide them with an overview of what the opportunity zones are and what the purpose of the planning grant would be. That will be advertised in tomorrow's local newspaper. That meeting will take place on Tuesday, June the 3rd at 6 p.m. at the terminal building at the airport. Also you'll note that one of the requirements is that we establish an initial management team and hold an initial meeting of the management team. There's several specified positions that are recommended to be on the planning team, or on the management team, excuse me. But I'd like to request that at least one board member, not more than 2, but at least one serve on the management team as well.
Is there a recommendation of numbers, Brett?
No, it
5,
doesn't
7,
even state
don't say.
that there has to be a member of the Board of Supervisors, but I think it would be helpful to have a board member or 2 on there. The opportunity zone, it's based on designated pre-existing census tracts. So our zone, some people may think, well, that's an odd area to draw a line around, but we had to use existing census tracts to do this. We didn't get to select areas and set the boundaries on their own. So our opportunity zone extends from just right at the eastern boundary of Rose Hill back to the east. On the northern side of 58, it dips below 58 in one area. It encompasses all of Jonesville, a portion of 58A from Jonesville up to being Heard. Then it goes back and follows the Oconeta, or Poor Valley, the north side of Poor Valley up to 421 at Pennington. So it's an odd zone, but in order to get the industrial park included in there, that's the census tract that we have to select.
What's the
We'll be-
third task?
Pardon?
What was the third task? Hold public meeting.
We
Create a
have,
board.
well, actually, we have the public meeting. There are 2 meetings of the management team, one initial meeting. We also have to do a physical inventory survey of all open spaces and buildings vacant or occupied in the opportunity zone. Now, I've already discussed that with DHCD. We don't have to have an inventory list of every building. We have to basically target the areas that we feel are will probably be most beneficial from the opportunity zone and most likely to develop, and just do the inventory on that, at least on a preliminary basis. Then we do a draft RFP, request for proposals for professional services to create marketing tools for the opportunity zone, and then have a second management team meeting to summarize everything and review it, and then submit all of that information back to DHCD. Once they've received that, they'll make a determination of whether or not to approve the plan.
Up to 15,000.
Up to 15,000. The budgeted request was 22 to 25,000, I think, but they're looking at reducing that. And I think with some of the budget lines that I saw, I think we could do some of the work for less than what was submitted in the grant.
Is there a time frame?
We have until July the 8th to complete these preliminary tasks and get the results back to DHCD.
So we're gonna have to come up with a board, have a public meeting. Board has to meet.
Right. With several of the board members, or it's not a board, it's the management team. Several of them are designated. We'll have one from Winnewisco. I'll be serving on there. The economic development director will be serving on there. The grant administrator, which I can, either a board member or myself can fill that role. So we can fill all of those with just those 4 people. But then we need representatives of stakeholder groups, including residents, business owners, and property owners. And we'll be developing that list probably after the public meeting on
June 3rd meeting.
June the 4th, excuse me, that meeting's on June the 4th. I got the day right, it's on the Tuesday, but it's June the 4th.
Is it what time?
6 o'clock,
At there.
yes.
So we need a motion to go ahead and form these committees to be able to get the $3,000.
You don't need to take action on the management team. I'm just looking to this board for 1 or 2 members to serve on that management team.
Anybody interested?
I'll do one, I'll do it.
We need that form of a motion.
Yes, please.
Make a motion, Mr. Debi serves on that management team.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Do we need more action on this?
No, I was just thinking.
Next on the agenda Airport self-service fueling terminal.
The self-serve fueling terminal at the airport has been in service since 2007. It operates via a phone line connection for credit card sale approvals and monitoring from our office. QT Pod is the sales distributor of the terminal unit that we have. About 2 years ago, they developed an updated terminal which is capable of using an internet-based platform for both sales approvals and monitoring purposes. They have recently advised that due to the age of the old machines, ours is an M3000, and the newer technology allowed on their new M4000 machine, that they will discontinue support for the existing machines, the M3000, in the very near future. That will mean that new parts will no longer be available, and the possibility of repairing the machine will depend on the availability of reconditioned parts. In addition to this, we've had sporadic problems with our machine over the years because of the phone line connection. The machine itself, we've had to replace one circuit board in it, I think is the only thing we've done, and the LED light panel is the only two repairs that we've made. But anytime there's a hitch with the phone line, if someone comes in to get fuel and the phone line connection isn't working properly, it won't process the sale. Sometimes you can wait it out. A lot of them will go through the cycle 3, 4, 5, 6 times. In some cases, pilots pre-plan where they're going to stop and get fuel, and sometimes when they make a stop and they're expecting fuel to be there, they don't have an excess of fuel to fly to another airport to get fuel. So it can get a little bit touchy for them at times. Most of them usually have enough reserve to get to another local airport if ours isn't working. Sometimes you can wait 30 minutes or an hour and it will work. Usually, if a pilot's down there getting fuel and they call, by the time I go down there, it's back in service again. Or by the time if we get a complaint after the fact, I go down and check, it'll work again. But there are some issues with it, and again, parts are not going to be readily available after the next few months. The problems, when you have a problem like that, word gets out that there's an issue with the machine. Sometimes pilots post these on various websites, and it can affect the volume of sales that you have in the future. Because this is a totally self-serve operation, there's nothing we can do, to alleviate the problem because we don't control the phone line. It's not an issue a lot of times if we call the phone company and say, okay, run a test check on the line. By the time we call, it's working. So it's just been an issue for us. They came out with this new unit 2 years ago and offered some discounts similar to what they're offering right now, but I didn't look into it because it didn't feel like we needed to move at that time, but because of more recent issues with the phone line and the fact that you can go to an internet-based service, plus the fact that they're going to discontinue service on these units and maintenance, I am asking the board to consider the possibility of buying a new unit. They are currently offering a trade-in credit of $1,995 until June 30th of this year. The M4000 unit with the trade-in credit and shipping costs is $13,295. There's an add-on. I think I included a copy of the proposal in there that they sent. There's $1,000 for a sale kit if Ethernet cable cannot be run to the terminal unit. We do have internet service at the airport, so it would not be an issue to extend that service out to the unit. So I think the $13,295 price would be firm on what we would need. You do the installation yourself. They don't come out and do the install, but I think that with the support that they provide, that could be done. The existing fueling system was funded partially by the Virginia Department of Aviation, with the balance of it coming from the Tobacco Commission and some local funds. State funding is a one-time option for fueling systems. That's why we use tobacco commission funding for part of it, because they have a maximum amount they'll provide toward it, and that's it. They don't provide any ongoing maintenance funding for fuel farms. So this would be a 100% locally funded replacement. And with this, if this is approved, we try to keep our prices competitive to get as much business as we can. Probably don't put as much markup on it as some other areas do, but enough to cover our expenses and have a profit. But I would probably let the price creep up on this if it's approved, to try and recoup the cost a little faster.
We'll basically see the purchaser do that fuel there.
Well, the time will come, and as we experience more problems, even if the machine doesn't, malfunction, if we keep having problems with that connection, again, the more that gets out, the less volume business you get.
I can't remember what it was. It's not a huge volume, is it?
Right now, we're doing probably about 5,000 to 6,000 gallons a year. It varies. It varies with pricing and pricing in other areas. Right now, we're cheaper than most of those around us, not necessarily everyone, but most of the airports in our region are cheaper.
How much is your profit per gallon?
Well, it's marked up right now about 52 cents. By the time you take the fees for the credit card services and calculate in the lighting and phone line charges for the system, probably got about between 20 and 25 cents a gallon profit.
Somebody else have any more questions? I'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the airport self-serve fuel terminal purchase of the M4000 unit. Price of $10,295. Second.
Been made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda is report and recommendation of the county attorney.
Before you move on, there's one other item to clean up, and again, this comes from the secondary six-year plan public hearing that was just held at 5 o'clock. We do need a resolution of approval of that six-year plan and the construction budget for the upcoming 2019-2020 year. And I think that's been distributed across to you now.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 19-007, secondary six-year road plan and construction budget.
Second.
Been made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda, report and recommendation of the county attorney.
I'm not ready for me to report, but I do need to take it in closed session.
What would it take?
With regard to ongoing litigation.
Report and recommendation of the county administrator.
Only thing I have is question when you want to hold the next budget workshop. Either one of those, the 28th would probably work.
28th?
Yep.
28th, good there, man? Tuesday, 5 o'clock?
28.
Yes, I don't know. I'm checking this to put it down.
Yep. Twenty-eight, 5 o'clock here. Back with me. Yep. Reports and recommendations of the board.
Yeah, I just got one thing. I just wanted to see if we could set up a dedication date for those new Lee County signs honoring Supreme Court Justice Cynthia Kinlan.
Do we need to get dates from the others that you talked about earlier before we set this? Because
Well, I mean,
maybe depending on.
it'd be a good idea, yeah, I guess it would. I guess we need to see if we're all agreeable to want to do that.
We could probably hold that.
I can probably get that information and find out and bring it back to the board.
Well, at a work session next Tuesday, and then maybe we can set the date.
One thing, I do have one thing. It was the bridge, Auburn Drive, the Quilla Bridge. You don't have a ceremony for dedication of it.
We can have, you tell us when you want to do it.
Sometime in June.
Okay. If you want to, you maybe want to check with the
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
and see what will work for them. And we'll try to get it scheduled.
Anybody else say anything?
Okay, I make a motion that we go into closed session under legal counsel. That's 2.2-3711A7.
And closed session.